Hello, everybody. This is Georgia, and today we are going to have fun with using SPSS. First of all, before we get started, I want you to find a file on Titanium named the Pirates of SPSS dataset. You are going to use that dataset to type in the variables that I have designed for you. Now, what I'm going to show you here today in with this lecture is actually how to create your data set and how to run some very basic analysis. And pretty much we should cover everything that we have done thus far. As we keep progressing and learning about new inferential test statistics, we're going to be covering those as well. I'm going to be giving you instructions of how to use that. So for now, find your data set, open it up, and then also open up SPSS. Find SPSS in your computer, hopefully if you installed it or if you're in the library. And then you're gonna click and select the option of type new data, if you remember. Once you click OK, you should be seeing the screen that I'm having right here, which is an empty screen. As you can see, I haven't even saved it yet. And we're going to go ahead and create our variables. So first off, in order to create our variables, we need to be in our variable view, okay? Not the data view. We're going to do that later. Variable view. And we're going to go ahead and literally start creating one by one our variables. So as you can see in your dataset file that I gave you, it has 10 pirates, and you have a little bit of information about each pirate. For example, pirate number one, if you can read from the file, is 36 years old. He is a male. He has spent 16 years at sea. He has plundered 24 ships, and he has found 5 maps. He has found 1 treasure chest, and he has accumulated a total of $1,500 in total booty. So we're going to create all those variables, okay? And then we're going to input the data for each single pirate. So our number one variable is going to be the ID, okay? And I'm going to call number, ID number. Now remember, as I told you in the very first recording with SPSS, is that SPSS does not like spaces, and that's why I put this underscore right here. So I put ID underscore number. You can name it any way you want as long as you do not leave any gaps. Then I'm gonna just literally hit my tab key to move along. I'm gonna leave the numeric as it is. Width is okay, decimal, label. Here, if you want to create an identifier, for example, if ID and O is not good enough for you to identify that, you can just put pirate identifier. Okay. Values you leave as it is. We're just gonna input every single new value for each single pirate, so we're not gonna have any pre-existing categories. Missing, not to worry about it. Align. And the next thing that I want you to select is the type of measure. So this is talking about the level of measurement. Now you're going to say, well, ID number is a number, so it should be a scale measurement. Yes, but if you think about it, the actual identification number is just a way of identifying somebody. It's just like calling their name, John, Jack, Mary, right? So those numbers do not really have a numerical value. It's not something that you would do math. Just like your ID number that you have for school, every single student, Cal State Fullerton, has a unique identification number. So you're not going necessarily to do math with that number. It just identifies you as an individual. So for that, we're going to set the measure to nominal. Then we're going to go ahead and create the second variable, which is going to be age. Okay, so that's going to be the age of participants. You can just type in here age, you don't have to. And then age is actually a number. We can calculate a mean with it, right? So every single pirate is going to have a different age, so it is a scale measurement. The next one is going to be gender. And this one is a little bit different simply because now, if you think about it, gender, we're having a choice of being a male and a female. So somehow we need to set SPSS in a way that it's going to display those values, right, when we're going to start inputting the data. So where are we going to put this? Under values. Under values, you're going to click this little box right here, and you're going to set where it says value. You're going to say that I want 0 to be for males and 1 to be for females. So this is how you're gonna be identified. So when you're inputting the data, instead of actually saying, typing in the whole thing, males, females, you're just gonna be typing 0 and 1, which is way, way faster. And then you're gonna click OK. Now, as far as a measure, level of measurement, right? Gender, that is categorical. So that is going to be a nominal variable. The next one is going to be years spent at sea. So years underscore at sea. Again, no gaps here. You don't have to put an identifier if you want to. And that is going to be a scale measurement because it's actual numbers again. And you go on and you create all those variables, okay? Now, I've already created another file with, and I typed in all the variables, and I will show them to you. Okay, so here I have actually created all my variables. Let me go ahead and close this one, like lower down, so I don't get confused. And I also went ahead and saved my file, as in file, right? Save as, and I saved it as YAR, the Pirate of SPSS dataset. Okay, as you can see, this .sav extension identifies that this is an SPSS file. And now once we create our data, we can go ahead and start inputting the actual data. So our variables are all set. Now we need to go and input our data. So you're going to click Data View, and it's going to take you here. So now I've already input mine. So all you have to do here is just literally go one by one. So as you can see, this is pirate number 1. You're going to type in 36, his age. You're going to put a 0 here because he's a male. He spent 16 years at sea. He plundered 24 ships, right? He gathered 5 maps, 1 chest, and $1,500 in booty. And you keep going, literally inputting all that information. I know it's a little bit time consuming, but you get the idea. Imagine if you had to do a much bigger file. This is an actually very small data set. The other thing that I want you to point out here is if you see this button right here, if I click it, remember, I can go between the actual values that I have set up. So here I have male, 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 female, male, female, female, male, male, and so on and so forth. So I just click between the actual value and how I have set it up for SPSS. Just in case if you forget what is 0, what is 1, you can say, oh, well, is this a female? I don't remember if I set up. So you can just click this over and you can say, oh, okay, so 0 is a male. All right, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and start running some very basic statistics. Now, with SPSS, you don't really need to switch back to variable view. I don't know, it's just a habit of mine that I have. I like to always be on the variable view when I'm running my analysis. You don't have to. Now, your best friend every time you want to analyze something in SPSS is going to be your analyze menu. So this is the menu that you're going to use more than anything else. So we already created our variables. We enter the data. Now we're going to start analyzing. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to run some very basic descriptive statistics. We want to see how our data looks like. So we're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive, Descriptives, and we're going to have this nice menu. Now I've already run it one time to create your PowerPoint, so let me scoot everything over. So the way SPSS works is anything that you want to analyze, you're going to have to put it on this variable box here. So this is all your variables in the left side, and this is what you're asking SPSS to actually analyze. So you can either click one by one and start inputting it, or you can just click and hit shift and select all of them and put them there, and we can just analyze all of them. Now, under the options button, if you click options, you get all these choices because SPSS says, well, what do you want me to run? And this time, let's just select, we want to take the mean. the standard deviation, the range, and we would like to see also the skewness. You don't have to do minimum or maximum. You can unclick that, or you can just leave it as B. It doesn't matter. You're going to click continue, okay, and okay. So once you do that, you should actually be getting this table right here. So this is your output, okay. Let me hold on here. And it run my basic statistics. So I can see here, pirate ID, how many do I have? As you can see, the N here is 10 because I have 10 pirates. So this is the number of participants that I have. So all of them, I don't have any missing values whatsoever. The range does not really make sense for the ID, okay, or the minimum or maximum, or the mean for that matter. But for example, under age, you can see that the average age of your pirates is 22.6 years with a 9.0 standard deviation, which is quite large. And as you can see here, you do have some kind of a skew. And how do we determine if something is really, really skewed? What we actually do is you take the standard error and you double it, you multiply it by 2, and if it is as big as your test statistic, then it's a significant skew. Now here you can see you have the negative signs on these particular ones. That means you're having a negative skew, where here, for example, you have a positive skew. So it's kind of cool that SPSS does that. Okay, so let's look at something else now. Let's do some more fun stuff. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get some frequencies. So we're going to go to the Analyze menu, Descriptive Statistics. Only this time we're going to select frequencies. I personally love the frequencies menu simply because I find it to be a one-stop shopping center. It gives you a lot of choices. You can even order SPSS here to design graphs for you instead of actually going to the graphs menu. Now, in this particular case, we're only going to select our scale variables. Okay, so we're going to select age, years at sea, okay, and all these guys here. And we're going to click statistics. We're going to again get the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, okay. This time I don't care about the skewness, but what I want you to click here is your charts, and we're going to order histograms, right? So make sure histograms is selected. If you click this little button here, it's actually going to, on top of your histogram, it's going to add the normal curve, which is very useful to see how skewed your data really is. So you're going to click continue, and then you're going to say OK. And as you can see now, SPSS is running your analysis. And what it actually did now, it went ahead and gave you a frequency table for every single variable. So right here you're having the age variable, okay, and it gives you the frequency for each one of them, and you can see you have one 19-year-old, one 20-year-old, one 22-year-old, and so on. So these are your raw values here, the ages. It calculates the percent for every single age group, okay, and this is your cumulative percent if you remember. It does the same thing for every single variable, but let's keep going down here, and now we can see the actual histograms, okay. And again, I selected histograms because those variables were measured at the scale level, right? So they were not nominal or ordinal, they were continuous numbers. So this way we can actually have histograms. But what do we see here? So here you have age. Apparently you have, I would call that a single mode, unimodal distribution, although this is a second strong mode right here. But as you can see, there's a huge gap in here between, so there's definitely a little bit of a skew when it comes to the age here, because you have somebody's really young in this distribution and it's pulling everybody this way, and everybody else is kind of like more clustered together. Years at sea, again, you can see a single mode happening right in here, and then you have two smaller modes. Again, this is a positively skewed distribution, and you can just go like that and analyze pretty much every single variable. Okay, now let's just start doing something else. Let's start actually to examine relationship between two variables. So in order to do that, and that, if you remember, is going to be what test the relationship between two variables, and especially if they're measured at a ratio level. Do you remember? That is going to be a Pearson's correlation. So let's go ahead and do a Pearson's correlation. So analyze menu, correlate, bivariate. Let me pull all these guys out just because I run it before. And let's see what we're going to analyze. We're going to explore the relationship between years at sea, so years at sea, and total booty. Now, the only thing that I want you to check here is make sure that this little box right here, Pearson, is clicked, and then just hit OK. And this is actually your Pearson's correlation output, okay? So this is the output that the SPSS tells you. And let's see how we read this. So you're having years at sea here. So you can see it's correlating the variable with itself. Every time you correlate any variable with itself, you're always going to get a 1. That means it's a perfect correlation. So years at sea with years at sea. Here is a correlation between years at sea and total booty. And as you can see, your Pearson's correlation value is 0.79. And if you remember from your Pearson's correlation lecture, that is a pretty good correlation. That's pretty strong. Okay, so pretty much here, what you're having, the more years a pirate spends at sea, the more booty is going to accumulate. Okay, significant level, as you can see, is 0.007, which is less than 0.05. We're going to talk a lot about significant in the next lecture. So for now, just know that this is very significant results. That means that this correlation is very strong. And again, it gives you your N, that you had 10 participants, okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to do is gonna actually do a correlation matrix. So we do a correlation matrix when every time we have more than two variables that we want to correlate. So we're going to go to Analyze, Correlate, Bivariate again. Only this time we're going to just go ahead and drop in there every single numerical variable that we have. And we're just going to make sure again that the Pearson is clicked. And we're going to say OK. And look what SPSS is going to do. He's going to create a matrix table for you, or a cross-tabulation table, whatever you want to call it. And what it's doing is it's correlating every single variable with the next variable. So year at sea, year at sea, year at sea with total booty, years at sea with numbers of mobs, years at sea with ships plundered, and years at sea with numbers of chests. And you're getting a Pearson's correlation test statistic for each one of them. So we already see that the years at sea with total booty, they are very much correlated. With numbers of mobs, there is a correlation, but it's a moderate correlation. It's not very strong. Ships plundered, though, that is a very, very strong correlation. And as you can see here, your significant level is 0.00. It doesn't get any better than this. So this is a very strong correlation indeed. Though the years at sea with the numbers of chests, this is a very weak correlation. So there's almost like no correlation at all. So this is how you actually read the correlation matrix. The next thing that we are actually going to do now is we're going to try to design a few graphs. So we're going to graphically try to represent some of our variables. So let's go ahead and do that. SPSS have a special menu for that. So you can go, actually there's two ways of going about it. So you can either go graphs, legacy box, and from here you can select the type that you want to, or you can go graphs, chart builder. And sometimes SPSS wants to pop out this other menu, define variables. Don't worry about it, just click OK, and then it should take you to this menu right here. Okay. And what I would like you first to correlate, let me take this out. So from here, you can select the type of graph that you're wanting from this menu. We're going to go to scatter plot, and you're literally dragging it over to this window. And then you're defining your X and Y variables, okay? Now, just know that usually your x variable is going to be your independent variable, and your y-axis is always going to be your dependent variable. Because the way we do this is like the y is a function of x. Um, if you remember back when you were doing algebra years ago. So anyhow, pretty much what you're trying to say here, that the independent variable will have an effect on the dependent variable. So that is why the value of x will be a function of the value of y, rather, is going to be a function of x. You don't need to memorize that. You don't need to know. Just I'm just explaining here. So for this first chart, let's go ahead and correlate the age of the pirate. So age of the pirate, you're going to click that, then you're going to drag it into the y-axis, just like that. And then the other one is going to be the number of treasures. Let's see, number of maps, number of, we can do this. Okay. And oops, we're just going to go ahead and drag this here. And the only thing that you need to do now is just click OK. And this is what this particular graph, you can pretty much correlate whatever you want, just play with it. Do not, I'm not going to test you which one is your dependent or independent. Just play around with different variables and experiment. Now, one more thing that I want to cover here that is not going to be in your PowerPoint is you can actually make this look really pretty if you're into adding color or things like that. I know I'm like a big sucker for design. So anyhow, if you double click this table here, you can tell SPSS to actually put the fitted line, okay, to see what kind of a correlation. You can see this is a horrible correlation. Uh, and then you can also uh, say close this one. You can click the background and you can set some color. I don't know, I like this one, I think. So apply. So you can just have fun with it, okay? And once you make it the way you like, you can just close it and we'll apply all those changes to your graph. Now, for your final project, right, apparently you're going to need a lot of those graphs and statistics. So what you're going to have to do is literally right click it. Okay, and you're gonna copy special. I don't like to do copy, and I will tell you why. If you just do copy and then you go to a Word file and you paste it, it's gonna paste it exactly as it is. And sometimes graphs or frequency tables can be huge, and you're not gonna be able to fit it in your page, and you're gonna be very frustrated. So if you copy special, okay, I like to pick this selection here, the JPEG. So you're going to copy it as an image and you're going to click OK. And then you can go to a Word file and just let me open up a new file right here. And you can literally paste special and you're going to paste it as a picture and you're going to click OK. And voila. Now the beauty of this is that you can now treat it as a picture, as an image, and you can just make it as big or as small as you like. Okay. Um, so this way you have much greater flexibility of what you want to do with your graphs. Okay. I just want to mention this in case, down the line when the time for you to create your final project comes, you're like, oh, Georgia, how do I copy this? How do I export it from the SPSS output to a Word file? So that's how you do it. You literally right click and the same thing. Like say if I want to like copy and paste, you're just going to copy special this table. You're going to select it as an image. You're going to click OK. You're going to go to Word and you're going to paste it there. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is how to actually do calculate z-scores using SPSS. You probably figured out that doing it by hand is a little bit of a pain. So SPSS does a great job calculating z-scores with a click of a button. So that's pretty cool. So once again, you're going to go to your Analyze menu. We're going to go to Descriptives. Descriptives again. And actually, let me get rid of the nominal variables here, and we're just going to keep our scale variables. And all you have to do is literally click this button right here that says Save Standardized Values as Variables, okay? Nothing else. You're just going to click this button right here, make sure it's checked, and you're going to say OK. And now what it's going to do, okay, besides calculating your standardized values, if you go to data view, look at this. Now you're having your z-scores. All right, so you're having the actual z-scores for every single variable. One more thing that I would like you to see. Now, if we go ahead and also do an analyze descriptives frequencies, I want to do a histogram of the z-scores. So let's do a histogram of the z-scores to see how that's going to look like. So this is checked already. Good. Okay. And voila. Okay. So now you're actually having the z-score. So this is like your mean right here. Okay. This is the z-score for age. It tells you right here what is your mean. Okay. Based on z-score values, your standard deviation, your n again. But this is your mean, right? The dead center of your curve. And you can see here that you're having an outlier to the left. So this is going to be your extreme outlier here. And that's why this looks like a negative skew. And everything else is clustered together. So this is actually your z-score distribution for the variable age. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video. I would love you if you just take your time and play around with SPSS. Just literally go and, use those commands. The commands that I want you to really experiment is your descriptive frequencies, descriptives, and also the correlate for now. Eventually, when we get into t-tests, chi-square, ANOVAs, I will teach you how to do those as well. So experiment with that. Go ahead, play with the graph menu a little bit, okay? And have fun, all right? Take care.